As you face the morning sun, all that's left will come undone, for the good of all and one. You gotta tell me if you can't go on. So that's a little verse from a song of mine that has been hanging around for 3 years. I've just realised. Bloody hell. It was always one where I felt like I was kind of mimicking a little bit, maybe going into kind of trying to stylize it. I wanted to write a kind of epic alternative rock ballad type thing, you know. But I was often over stylizing it, maybe trying too hard to sound like something else. And it's one of those songs that I struggled with authenticity with. And I've always said that comes from singing a lot of covers and just learning how to sing through singing other people's songs. And I think what I've ended up with is a very confused voice. And on top of that, I've probably got a few different sort of flavors and tastes and styles that I like, and different things come out when you're expressing different things through different influences. I know I'm not alone in this. I heard Bruce Springsteen say, I think eventually I found my voice, and the early days there were a lot of different influences coming through in his music, and he eventually found who he was in amongst all that. So I know it's okay to go through that searching process and to allow your influences to be heard in what you do. As you face the morning sun. I don't know what that sounds like once I put it through some compression and back, you know, with the reverb and everything. But it's very small what I'm actually doing, say, on the word sun, which is on an E, which sits really on your bridge for most guys, and it's going to be a very awkward note to hit for most people, whatever voice type you've got. I don't care too much about voice types. I think we all have to work through the same mechanisms and the same issues. They just might be in a slightly different place to each other. As you face the morning sun. And as I often say to people, try to go as light as you can on that note. Do it falsetto. And then try and add the tiniest bit of reinforcement with your chest voice. You won't have the agility to do that necessarily yet, and that's difficult and frustrating, but you're trying to get to a point where there's very little difference almost there, where you can just smooth between those two things, because you're not applying too much chest, too much weight, too much power when you put that back in. It's just a little bit, which is hard to do. It's really hard to do. I've seen a lot of people struggle with it. I struggled with it for years myself. As you face the morning and oops. So you go from a G to a kind of sliding up from a D to an E, which is awkward because it's in your bridge. As you face the morning sun. So that jump back up there can be quite tricky. But the first part is not. It's already on the way up to your chest, to your head voice. It's already on the way up to the bridge. So there's already a transition starting to happen. There are already adjustments starting to happen. I'm already thinning out. I'm thinking about being at the top of this resonance in your mouth, where the nook and the little passageway up to the head voice starts to happen. As you face the morning. That one goes back down a little bit. Sun. I'm so light on that, but it'll probably sound quite powerful. It'll probably sound quite strong and quite belty. I've always got a bit of grit in my voice and a bit of distortion. I think there's a chance that came from coughing as a child with asthma, and it's actually a quality within my voice. But having damaged it over the years, singing, and had an operation as well a few years ago, I have some discrepancies and imperfections in my general voice. I was thinking about trying a few different microphone setups. Maybe this one is bringing that out more than my Rode would. I might switch that and start doing videos with that. I might try and compress it less and make sure it's a bit more of a natural sound, because I think there's almost a bit of brittle, high-end clarity adding to what you hear in the quality of my voice these days. And maybe I'm a little bit conscious of this, and it's one of the reasons I miss weeks and don't put a video out and stuff. But someone told me I talk too much and don't sing enough and don't do enough demonstrations. It's about the only negative bit of feedback I've had. So I'm trying to sing, and I did one yesterday with a bit of Train, Drops of Jupiter. I wasn't enamoured by it, but that's probably where my confidence is at. So we're all human, right? As you face, so start with a bit of vocal fry. And what people get wrong when they're trying to use vocal fry is they go, they squeeze for it. And actually it's the opposite. It's the lightest, easiest vocalization you can do. It's the most relaxed kind of sensation that you could ever ask for. You're not pushing anything. You're not squeezing anything. As you face, I'm just getting back in the mouth, back up to there, like the sound's all in there. How do you get it up there? You got to lift, you got to think backwards, you got to lift at the roof of your mouth, and you've got to allow the sound to kind of find its little cavity and find its little spot where it naturally wants to resonate, and you've got to let go of your chest voice more and more and more and more as you slide up. You get good at having the agility to make that transition quickly, but for a long time for people it can be really clunky and difficult. As you face the morning sun, all that's left will come undone. So there's a few vowels that weren't quite pronounced as I'd like there, and these are the kind of details that show up when you record things. All that's left will come undone. And so I'm trying to make all those words sound like they're in the same spot there. For the good of all and one. Up to the G there. You gotta tell me if you can't go on. But it's very light. It's lighter than it probably sounds, especially with the compression. It's like, even though I feel like I'm going light, it probably still sounds like I'm shouting at times. I did a gig last week, and I'd had a few weeks off from gigs, and I played in front of thousands of people on Saturday night at a sporting event at the Rugby after the England match at Twickenham. And it's a 80,000 stadium, but you know, they all flock out, and you get a sort of fan village there where there's a load of people drinking, eating, and we're there on stage with a big screen, and our pictures are on the big screen and all that. It's quite exciting to do a gig like that in a way. It is just a covers gig. You're just a sideshow. You're just there to entertain people with other people's music, which I'm kind of, dead inside from doing, but at the same time, I got to perform in front of thousands of people, and there were bits of my performance I really liked. There were bits of it that I hated, what I looked like on stage. I hated my stage presence. I was like, I need to sort that out. I look old, tired, and confused about what I'm trying to do. I go from standing there almost confrontationally to raising my arms in the air. I don't know what I was trying to do, actually, but I always took it for granted that I could perform, and that was something that just came naturally. I didn't need to think about it. I've got all the passion in the world, and I want to get into people, and I want to, make them feel it. But when you're not feeling what you're singing, or you're not doing it for any reason, I've lost some of that, and I'm just not connected to what I'm presenting, which is a difficult role as a frontman. So I kind of go from trying to put it on to overdoing it to not doing it at all, within the space of 10 seconds, every 10 seconds for the whole gig. So it's a strange one. But there were bits where I was probably generally a little bit on the shouty side, a little bit going a bit too big guns and being a bit too rousing and trying to put a lot into it. I was trying to put emotion into my vocal performance, which was better than perhaps my stage performance. But I found some bits that I was really happy with. I mean, I've only got a couple of little recordings off the sound engineer's phone that he took for us, and there was one bit where I kind of shouted a little bit too much on one line, but then I could hear myself kind of taking the opportunity to let go and lighten up. coming at you from all angles. So that little bit there, the word missiles, went a bit shouty on missiles. Yeah, so same, the word same was shouted. But when I went into only the names change, honey, names change, honey, that's kind of what I was talking about. I remember it at the time. I just kind of had to sort of sob, breathe, relax, and sort of get ready to reset. And then the line after it, I felt like I found the right place for it, and really there's a real nice little sweet bit after that. So it was join their club if you're born into money. Club if you're born into money. That was my favourite bit of the whole gig, I think. Join their club if you're born into money. That line I really just found a really nice light place that I sometimes can't always get in that song. On the next line, and almost release the breath and let go of the breath and relax everything, because I've gone a bit shouty. So one of the problems people have is that shouty, tense thing. But when you notice it, it's like, how do you fix it? And I think someone asked me, how do I get more consistent on stage and stuff? And you've got to know how to reset your whole body, and your tension and your support and everything just needs to relax for a second. And you can kind of do that while singing mid-line. And you can let that be an emotive thing that helps the performance as well. Like, I remember kind of going, oh, and I kind of went into a little bit of a sort of sobby, slightly breathier tone for a couple of lines, and I just let everything relax and release. And then I found this beautiful, quite heady sound, because it was that kind of song, and it was still. It's still a powerful rock song, but it needed a bit of a lighter kind of head voicey approach. And I just, because I'd gone and lightened up and let go of tension, let go of support, and then reset myself, I found this beautiful placement for the next couple of bits. And the way I came down through those notes there, I was really happy with, and it sounded perfectly in pitch and just sort of really harmonised nicely with the guitars. And it was just, I was like, that was good. The rest of it was a little bit shouty. It was still okay, but it was on the shouty side, you know. I did not make it like you say. I fought against time, and I swam against the waves. Some said the sun lacked here to stay, but I became your cloud, and you became my rain. So that's a tricky opening line. I did not make it like you. Some said the sun lacked here to stay, but I became your cloud, and you became my rain. All the times I said my leaves won't grow in this settled land, in this kind of mud, well now I'm pulling roots. I'm not going to do the chorus because I'm not quite prepared for that just now. I don't know. I'm randomly just coming on and singing through a couple of lines. I need to get a video out this week. That's important. I wanted to share a couple of things of where I'm at. I'm struggling with my music at the moment, and that's the honest truth. But I need to keep doing things on YouTube, and maybe I should just talk honestly about some of these things. I've found doing covers and making a living in the way that I do kind of demoralizing. It's killed the art. It's killed my spirit a little bit recently, and I need to find something. I need to find a way of getting that back, including new covers and songs that I want to sing, so I'm not just trained to please a general pub audience in England anymore, because I'm sick to death of having to do that. And there's got to be some middle ground where you do that, but keep yourself happy as well. And some singers go out there and musicians and get a good balance where that's concerned. And I've just kind of lost, I don't know how to pick songs, I really struggle with that at the moment. So that's it really. There's a couple of things there I'm just singing through. The trick, as always, is less is more. Lighter is what you need when you're in that kind of range. I'm so close to letting it go into head voice and just let it go falsetto like that. It's being able to only apply a little bit of reinforcement, a little bit of power, and that's where people go wrong. That's where I went wrong for years. That's why I had an operation on my voice, as I've said many times before. Not so much of a lesson today, but just sharing some thoughts, singing a little bit for you, and hopefully you can hear the quality of what I'm actually doing in the voice there and how effortless it is compared to what you might be experiencing or what it sounds like. And that was the crucial thing, like what I said in my last video that did really well about the illusion of the recorded voice. You know, it sounds, the voice when you go, way, way, it sounds big. Yeah, I'm not doing very much to get there. Yeah. It's really like, yeah, we hear that frequency better. It sounds impressive because the voice is stretched out, and the cavity creating that shape around these stretched chords gives you this almost like magnified impression of what the voice is doing. It makes it sound big, and I've never really explained it like that, but that's, if you kind of hear what the voice is actually doing in there, it's tiny and stretched, but it has this appearance of something much bigger and more powerful, and it really is a trick in a sense. It really is, you know, not what we think often. And just to reiterate that point again, I hope you can see how sort of relaxed I am. I'm able to go from talking down here to I did not know, and then back into talking again like that really easily. Way! And then I can just carry on talking. So there's not this big like release afterwards because I've got too much tension and this build up of pressure with air pressure going. Well, you have to relax like that afterwards. It's like, way! And then I can just carry on talking, right? Can you do that? Can you go my larynx went up a little bit more than I would have liked there for a second. You hear those? Hear some crackliness in my voice. Sod it, I don't care today. But as I climb up on like a siren like that, or a creaky door type exercise like that, there's an adjustment happening all the way. The adjustment is constant. It's constantly going from predominantly these muscles, and then it's going to predominantly those muscles, and we have to go grey area in between, gradual process in between. Every time I shift up, I'm letting go a bit, I'm pulling a little bit more backwards, and I'm lightening it up, and I'm letting it shift upwards in the resonance. So there, I've already sort of changed and adjusted halfway up. As I said in some of my early videos, it starts earlier down than you think. It starts earlier down because you can't just suddenly do a gear shift into that place. You need to gradually have got there. You need to gradually lighten up, let go, thin out to get into that part of your range. And that has to start lower down than you think. And then you can just carry on talking. So can you, in a really relaxed fashion, do that sort of thing where you just, when you feel the resistance start to happen and the tension start to happen, you might not be aware of it, but it's there, and it's getting better at noticing it. That's what you're trying to do, and you want to try and feel this tiny bit of resistance where you can feel the beginnings of tension creep in. Your voice kind of tries to protect itself, and everything grabs a hold, and it does more damage than good, but it's just an instinctive reaction to that tension and that pressure that you're putting into it. Can you notice that? Halfway up there. Well, I was right up towards the bridge there, actually, to be fair. So I'm playing like an A there. There's already this sense of starting to go towards the nasality, starting to let go of the chest voice. If I try and go too, I can already feel like, no, that's not comfortable. There needs to be some letting go already, way before you feel it, way before you notice it. See if you can play around with that today, and I hope it makes some sense to you. As always, I'm available for lessons, and I love coaching people, and perhaps I should do some videos where I'm actually coaching people so you can see how I help them work out what's going on in their voice, because that might be a little bit more insightful to what I can do. And as a few people have joined me recently on Patreon, that's how to support my channel, so thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.